Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into some seriously cool science with us today?
Always ready for a good deep dive.
Awesome. So today we're taking on Science Unshackled, this fascinating book by Renée James.
Oh, this one is fantastic. It's all about how research that seemed, well, kind of out there ended up shaping the world we live in.
You know, the stuff that might have made people scratch their heads and say, what's the point of this?
Exactly. But then, bam, it turns out to be the foundation for some life-changing tech or discovery.
And what makes this even cooler is that James is an astronomer herself.
Right, so she's got this unique perspective on how discoveries, even in something as seemingly distant as space,
Yeah, like way out there.
can actually ripple outward and have these totally unexpected impacts on everyday life.
It's like, I can barely plan my grocery shopping list, let alone predict the future impact of some complex research project. So how do scientists even wrap their heads around that? That inherent unpredictability when they're exploring the unknown?
Well, James makes a really interesting point. Scientists are actually pretty terrible at predicting the practical applications of their work.
Really?
Yeah. But here's the thing. It's not a bad thing. It's kind of just how it goes when you're dealing with the unknown. Imagine if funding agencies only supported research where they knew the outcome in advance.
Hmm.
We'd miss out on so much groundbreaking stuff.
It's like saying, hey, go explore that jungle, but only bring back things we already know exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to be open to the unexpected. And James has this perfect example. J.J. Thomson, the guy who discovered the electron,
Oh, yeah.
he famously toasted, "To the electron. May it never be of any use to anybody."
Wow. Now that's some serious irony considering how vital electrons are to, well, pretty much everything these days.
Right. Talk about an epic miscalculation. It just shows you never know what's going to come out of scientific research. And it's not just individual scientists who miss the mark. Remember Senator Proxmire and those Golden Fleece Awards?
The ones that were supposed to call out wasteful government spending?
Yep. One of the winners was this study on the mating habits of the screwworm fly.
Okay, I gotta admit, on the surface, that does sound like something a politician would jump at the chance to poke fun at. But I'm sensing there's more to this story.
Oh, there's always more to the story.
Yeah.
That research actually led to ways to control the screwworm fly population, which ended up saving billions in livestock losses and spared a lot of animals from suffering. Not so useless after all, huh?
Definitely not. Okay, so I'm starting to see the pattern here. Basic research, even if it seems totally out there, can have huge unforeseen consequences. But for those of us who aren't scientists, how does this translate to our lives? Why should we care?
Think of it like this. You see a massive football stadium, right? All those jobs, the money it brings in. But what you don't see are the years of planning, the architecture, all the behind-the-scenes stuff that made it possible.
Ah, the foundation.
Exactly. Basic science is like that foundation. Might not be flashy, but it's essential.
So, supporting basic research is like investing in potential. You don't know exactly which stock will take off, but you diversify your portfolio for a better chance of hitting it big.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Yeah.
And James makes this point that a lot of this progress comes from pure curiosity.
Hmm.
Like in your own life, ever get into something just because it was interesting
Yeah.
and then it unexpectedly became useful later.
Oh, totally. Like that time I randomly decided to learn about ancient Mesopotamian irrigation techniques.
Okay, that's a bit specific, but
Fast forward a few years, and that knowledge actually helped me when my friend was designing their sustainable garden. You just never know.
exactly. And to show how these seemingly unrelated discoveries can connect, let's dive into GPS. I bet you use it all the time without thinking about the crazy theory behind it.
Oh, GPS is my lifeline. I'd be lost, literally, without it. But wait, you're saying this little device that helps me find my morning coffee is connected to Einstein's theory of relativity,
It sounds wild, right?
the whole bending space and time thing.
Yeah, that one. It all boils down to the quest for super accurate clocks, atomic clocks to be precise. They use the vibrations of atoms to measure time incredibly accurately.
Okay.
And it was this quest for precision that let us test Einstein's mind-blowing theories about time and gravity.
Hold on. So you're saying time itself can be affected by gravity?
That's exactly what Einstein figured out. The stronger the gravity, the slower time flows. It's a teeny difference, but atomic clocks can measure it. And that difference is crucial for GPS satellites to work.
Mind officially blown. Please explain. How does this affect the little blue dot on my phone that tells me where to turn?
Picture this. GPS satellites are zooming around Earth, way up in orbit.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Both their speed and the weaker gravity up there affect the flow of time, according to Einstein. So time is literally moving a bit differently for those satellites compared to us down here.
So if we didn't factor in Einstein's theory, GPS would be totally off.
Totally useless. The system constantly adjusts for these relativistic effects to give us the accuracy we need. So next time you're using GPS to find your way, give a little nod to Einstein.
All right, I'm starting to grasp how even these super abstract theories can have a tangible impact on our daily routines. But let's shift gears a bit. James also explores the world of genetics, from Mendel's pea plants to the race to discover the structure of DNA. It's a story full of twists, turns, and unexpected breakthroughs.
And this part of the book really shows how scientific discoveries often build upon each other in surprising ways, like across different fields and even across centuries.
Like a giant jigsaw puzzle where pieces from different boxes somehow fit together to create this incredible picture.
Perfect analogy. And the story of PCR, or polymerase chain reaction, it illustrates this perfectly. PCR is a revolutionary technique in DNA analysis, and its origins can be traced all the way back to Mendel and his pea plants in the 1800s.
Wait, Mendel, the guy who figured out the basic laws of inheritance?
The one and only. He basically invented the concept of a gene. His work was fundamental to understanding how traits are passed down. But it took decades for scientists to even figure out that DNA was the carrier of genetic information, not protein, as they initially thought.
And let's be honest, the discovery of DNA itself is a wild story. Who would have guessed that something found in pus-soaked bandages would turn out to be the blueprint for life?
Right. James talks about Friedrich Miescher, who isolated this nuclein from bandages back in the 1860s. Back then, nobody knew how important it was, but it was a crucial step towards understanding DNA.
Finding treasure in the most unexpected places. It's a reminder to always stay curious. But how did we go from pus-soaked bandages to this revolutionary PCR technique?
Buckle up, it's a fascinating ride. We have Avery, McLeod, and McCarty in the 1940s who definitively proved that DNA, not protein, was a hereditary material. Then, of course, the iconic duo Watson and Crick cracked the code of the double helix structure in the 1950s.
That's like a science drama, right? The race to solve the puzzle, the competition, the eureka moment, it's all there. But PCR isn't just about the structure of DNA, is it?
You got it. Even after Watson and Crick, there was this huge question: how does DNA copy itself?
Yeah.
Enter Arthur Kornberg and his obsession with finding the enzyme responsible for copying DNA. These tiny molecular machines that drive life.
Okay, so we've gone from pea plants to pus to the double helix to this crucial enzyme. Where does PCR fit into all of this?
Here's where it gets really cool. PCR needs a specific type of DNA polymerase, one that can handle high temperatures. And guess what? The perfect enzyme for the job comes from a bacterium that lives in those boiling hot springs in Yellowstone National Park.
Seriously, a bacterium hanging out in a boiling hot spring is a crucial part of this groundbreaking DNA technique.
I know, right? It's a prime example of scientific serendipity, how seemingly unrelated discoveries, sometimes decades apart, can come together to create something truly revolutionary.
So it's like science is this giant web, and each discovery is a thread that connects to countless others in ways we can't always predict.
That's a brilliant way to put it. And it's this interconnectedness that makes science so powerful and ultimately benefits humanity in so many ways.
Wow, we've only scratched the surface. Can't wait to dig into more mind-blowing examples in the next part of our deep dive. All right, so we've seen how seemingly useless research can lead to huge breakthroughs, like GPS and DNA analysis. What other surprises does James have for us?
Well, let's circle back to those exploding black holes for a minute. Sometimes the search for something specific turns up empty, but the tech developed along the way can still be incredibly valuable.
You mean the ones that might be evaporating as we speak? I remember you mentioned Stephen Hawking's theory about that. Pretty wild concept.
Oh, it is. And it ties back to the Big Bang Theory, the idea that the universe started from this incredibly dense, hot state and has been expanding and cooling ever since. One of the big questions was, where'd all the energy from that initial explosion go?
It can't just disappear, right? One of the fundamental laws of physics, energy can't be destroyed, only transformed.
Exactly. And back in the 1940s, these physicists, Alpher and Herman, predicted that there should be some leftover radiation from the Big Bang, this faint afterglow just kind of permeating the whole universe. Basically, they were searching for this cosmic echo of the Big Bang.
Like cosmic archaeologists looking for clues about the origin of the universe.
Exactly. And their prediction was finally confirmed in the 1960s when researchers at Bell Labs, Penzias, and Wilson stumbled upon this cosmic microwave background radiation.
CMB, right?
TMB. They were trying to calibrate this giant antenna and thought the signal was just Interference.
A happy accident, a faulty antenna leading to a major cosmological discovery. But what's the connection between this CMB and exploding black holes?
Well, the CMB is remarkably uniform, like its temperature is almost the same in every direction.
Oh,
But that creates a puzzle. How could the early universe be so smooth when we see all this structure in the universe today? Galaxies, clusters of galaxies, those vast empty spaces, cosmic voids.
so it's like baking a cake and expecting it to magically turn into a multi-tiered masterpiece without any variations in the batter.
Yeah,
Doesn't quite add up.
exactly. And that's where these primordial black holes come in. Stephen Hawking theorized that tiny black holes, formed in the first moments after the Big Bang, could have acted as gravitational seeds, attracting matter, and eventually leading to the formation of larger cosmic structures.
Okay, so I see the connection. But why exploding black holes? Didn't Hawking also say black holes eventually evaporate?
You're right. He proposed that black holes aren't totally black, but they actually emit a faint radiation, now known as Hawking radiation. As they lose energy through this radiation, they eventually shrink and, boom, explode.
So how do you even start to look for these exploding black holes? They must be incredibly faint and distant.
That's where radio astronomy comes in. Scientists figured these primordial black holes would be tiny, so their explosions would release a specific type of radio signal. It's like trying to hear a whisper in a noisy room.
So how do you filter out all that noise and find the signal you're looking for?
Well, back in the 1970s, a team of radio astronomers, Eakers, Shaver, and O'Sullivan, were trying to do just that. They used radio telescopes to scan the sky for a particular signal, a down chirp that would indicate an exploding black hole. But they needed a way to separate that signal from all the other radio noise coming from Earth itself.
Like trying to hear that whisper while you're standing in the middle of Times Square. Must have been tough.
It was. To overcome this, they developed this revolutionary technique using something called a fast Fourier transform, or FFT, to analyze the radio signals. It basically breaks down a complex signal into its individual frequencies.
So instead of hearing a cacophony of sound, they could zero in on the specific frequencies associated with those exploding black holes. Clever? Did they find any?
Well, after years of searching, they never found that elusive down chirp. But, and this is where the useless research becomes incredibly useful, the FFT technology they developed ended up having huge implications for a completely different field wireless communication.
No way! Are you telling me that the search for exploding black holes led to Wi-Fi?
It did. One of the astronomers, O'Sullivan, realized the FFT chips they'd created could solve a big problem in wireless communication, something called multipath interference.
Multipath interference. I'm not familiar with that term.
It's when radio waves bounce off multiple surfaces, creating this jumbled mess of signals. Imagine trying to have a conversation in a room full of mirrors where your voice is echoing everywhere.
That makes sense. So these FFT chips could help unscramble those jumbled signals.
Exactly. O'Sullivan and his team adapted their technology for wireless communication, and it became a key part of the Wi-Fi standard we use every day. So the next time you're streaming a movie or video chatting, thank those astronomers who were looking for exploding black holes.
Mind-boggling how these seemingly unrelated fields can influence each other. Okay, so we've covered space and communication. What other random area of research has had a surprising impact?
Let's talk about pain relief. We often take it for granted, but the story of how we got here is full of twists and turns, and it starts with a rather unlikely source. Cone snails.
Cone snails, those beautifully patterned creatures you find in tide pools. What could they possibly have to do with pain relief?
They might look harmless, but some species of cone snails are incredibly venomous. They use a harpoon-like structure to inject their venom, which can paralyze their prey.
So it's like a tiny underwater assassin.
Pretty much. And their venom is this complex cocktail of molecules, some of which have powerful pain-relieving properties.
Wait, hold on. The venom that can paralyze a fish also contains pain relievers? How does that even work?
It's a fascinating example of how nature often holds the keys to the solutions we're searching for. A scientist named Baldemaro Oliveira was fascinated by cone snails and spent years studying their venom.
So he was like a venom detective trying to unlock the secrets of these deadly cocktails. What was he hoping to find?
Pure curiosity, really. And his work led to a major breakthrough in pain management. He discovered that one component of cone snail venom, a peptide called omega-conotoxin, could block specific pain signals in the spinal cord.
Like a targeted missile, honing in on those pain signals and neutralizing them before they reach the brain.
You got it. And this discovery led to the development of a powerful new pain medication called Prialt, used to treat severe chronic pain.
Wow, so the venom of a tiny sea snail is now helping people manage debilitating pain. Another reminder that amazing discoveries can come from the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our final example, one that highlights the unexpected connection between the study of stars and a potential breakthrough in cancer treatment.
Wait, stars in cancer treatment? That seems like a stretch. What's the connection?
It all starts with our quest to understand the composition of the sun. For centuries, scientists have been trying to figure out what exactly the sun is made of. Turns out, it's a surprisingly challenging question.
How can it be so difficult? Isn't it just a giant ball of burning gas?
It's more complicated than it looks.
Yeah.
Early astronomers used a technique called spectroscopy to study the light from the sun. Basically, they use a prism to split sunlight into its rainbow of colors.
Oh, like how a raindrop creates a rainbow.
Exactly. And when they looked at the sun's spectrum, they noticed these dark lines, like missing colors, in the rainbow.
Missing colors. That's odd. What caused that?
Turns out those dark lines are caused by elements in the sun's atmosphere absorbing specific wavelengths of light. Each element has its own unique set of absorption lines, kind of like a fingerprint.
So by analyzing those fingerprints in the sunlight, they could figure out which elements were present in the sun's atmosphere. That's pretty cool.
It is. But there's a problem. The amounts of certain elements, like hydrogen and helium, seemed way too high compared to what they expected.
Like trying to bake a cake and finding out the recipe calls for a gallon of milk and a teaspoon of flour. Something's definitely off with those proportions. So what was going on?
It took decades to crack this mystery. Turns out even tiny amounts of heavy elements can have a huge impact on how light moves through the sun. This is due to a phenomenon called the Auger effect, where high-energy photons can knock electrons out of atoms, creating this cascade of particles.
The Auger effect. Sounds like a Nobel Prize-winning discovery.
You're right. Pierre Auger, a French physicist, discovered this effect back in the 1920s. And it's not only crucial for understanding the sun's composition, but it also led to a potential breakthrough in cancer treatment.
Okay, now you have to explain this. How do we go from the sun to fighting cancer?
A team of scientists, led by Sultana Nahar and Anil Pradhan, realized that the Auger effect could be used to target cancer cells very precisely. Their idea was to use tiny gold nanoparticles, attach them to cancer cells, and then hit them with low-energy X-rays tuned to a specific frequency.
So like creating tiny guided missiles that attach to cancer cells and detonate on command.
Precisely. The X-rays trigger the Auger effect in the gold nanoparticles, releasing this flood of electrons that damage the DNA of nearby cancer cells, effectively destroying them.
So the research on the sun's composition, combined with this Auger effect, led to a potential new weapon in the fight against cancer. Remarkable.
It really is. It highlights the interconnectedness of scientific knowledge and the unexpected ways discoveries in one field can impact others. A perfect example of how even the most fundamental research can have far-reaching consequences.
It's amazing how studying the vastness of space can lead to breakthroughs in treating something as personal as cancer. I'm sensing a theme here. The more we explore the universe, from the tiniest atoms to the vast expanse of space, the more we learn about ourselves and the potential solutions to the challenges we face.
Absolutely, it's all connected. This deep dive into Science Unshackled has been a great reminder that supporting basic research and nurturing scientific curiosity is an investment in our future, a future full of possibilities we can't even imagine.
I couldn't agree more. This has been an incredible journey through the world of scientific discovery. I can't wait to see what other hidden connections are out there waiting to be uncovered. But for now, let's wrap things up in the final part of our deep dive. We've covered so much in this deep dive, from GPS to those exploding black holes and Wi-Fi. It's mind-blowing how scientific discoveries, they rarely happen in isolation, do they?
Not at all.
There's this incredible ripple effect, where even the most obscure research can lead to these amazing breakthroughs.
And that's what makes James's book, Science Unshackled, so fascinating. She doesn't just list discoveries, she delves into the stories behind them. You know, the human element, the serendipity, the dead ends, and those unexpected connections.
It's like she's pulling back the curtain and showing us how science really happens.
Exactly. It's messy, brilliant, and full of surprises.
It's a great reminder that science is ultimately a human endeavor, driven by curiosity, passion, and sometimes even a good dose of stubbornness. It's not always a straight path to a eureka moment.
Oh, absolutely.
There are twists, turns, wrong turns, dead ends.
Plenty of those along the way.
And that's one of the key takeaways from Science Unshackled, right? Embracing failure as part of the process.
Absolutely.
Just like in life, when you're trying something new, you experiment, make mistakes, and learn from them.
Think about it like trying a new recipe. You tweak ingredients, adjust cooking times, maybe even burn a batch or two.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
But those failures, they often teach us more than our successes.
It's not about avoiding failure, it's about learning from it, adapting and trying again.
Exactly. James emphasizes that those failures can be just as valuable as successes. They give us insights that can lead to those aha moments, like Alexander Fleming's discovery of penicillin, a total accident.
He left a petri dish open.
Yep, mold grew and killed the bacteria. Talk about a happy accident that changed the course of medicine.
Makes you wonder how many other potential breakthroughs are hidden in research that might seem useless, at least at first glance.
Well, James has another great example. Remember those astronomers searching for exploding black holes?
Oh, yeah.
Years of searching, never found them. But the technology they developed to filter out noise from radio signals.
Led to Wi-Fi.
Exactly. Another case of seemingly useless research becoming incredibly useful. It just shows you the unpredictable nature of scientific discovery.
You really never know where a particular line of inquiry might lead.
And that's what's so exciting about science. It's this ongoing process of exploration, discovery, and connection, pushing the boundaries, asking new questions, challenging assumptions.
So how does James suggest we foster the spirit of scientific exploration? And how do we support basic research even when the payoff isn't immediately obvious?
She really stresses the importance of funding agencies, governments, even private individuals, taking a long-term view. It's about recognizing that not every research project will have this immediate, marketable product or solution. Sometimes it's about supporting the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake, trusting that those seemingly obscure discoveries might one day have a huge impact.
It's like planting seeds. You nurture them, give them what they need, and have faith they'll blossom, even if you don't know what kind of flowers they'll produce.
Beautifully put. And James argues we need to cultivate a culture that values curiosity, risk-taking, and collaboration in science. It's about breaking down those walls between disciplines, encouraging out-of-the-box thinking, and embracing the unknown.
Science Unshackled is more than just a book about discoveries. It's a call to action. A reminder that supporting basic research is an investment in our future. A future with endless possibilities.
And remember, next time you're stuck on a problem, feeling discouraged, think about those scientists who spent years searching for exploding black holes.
And ended up giving us Wi-Fi.
Exactly. Maybe your dead end is actually the key to something amazing too.
Wow. That's a powerful thought to end on. Even when faced with uncertainty, the pursuit of knowledge and the spirit of exploration can lead us to incredible places. This deep dive into Science Unshackled has been eye-opening. It's given me a new appreciation for the power of curiosity, the importance of embracing failure, and the way all these scientific discoveries are connected.
I'm so glad to hear that. Remember, stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop asking questions.
Couldn't agree more. Until next time, folks, keep diving deep into the fascinating world of knowledge. This is The Deep Dive, signing off.